This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome, everybody, on this Monday night. Rain has finally come, at least to the New York, New Jersey area, but we had a gorgeous weekend. I hope everybody had a great Father's Day on Saturday. Some other dads that probably won't see their kids again, well, that's happening in Chicago, because over this weekend alone, 40 people were shot in Chicago, which you say, all right, Joe, lather, rinse, and repeat. This happens in Chicago every weekend, especially during the summer. Well, I don't know. Why should we accept that? Why do we have people running Chicago like a Lori Lightfoot and now Brandon Johnson, currently at 16, that's 16% approval in that blue of a city, where they just kind of accept it and yeah, they're doing things about it, but, oh, well, President Trump wants to send in the National Guard and do for Chicago what they did for Washington, D.C. But the mayor won't allow it. Fred Flintstone, the governor, J.B. Pritzker won't allow it. And now Brandon Johnson, let's go Brandon, is now saying that, well, the reason why so many black men, especially young black men, are being killed in Chicago under my leadership and Democratic leadership before me is because Richard Nixon is to blame. No, really? Cut one, go.
Death has been unfortunately accepted in this country for a very long time. We had a chance 60 years ago to get at the root causes, and people mocked President Johnson. And we ended up with Richard Nixon.
Oh, wait, what?
I'm going to work hard every day to transform this city. That's what it takes to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago, and I need everybody to step up.
So if I want to see if I'm following along with this correctly. If Lyndon Johnson didn't seek a second term, and then if Nixon didn't become president, and Johnson was able to fulfill whatever he wanted to fulfill as far as the Great Society, then we wouldn't have blacks murdering blacks in Chicago today? Did I read this correctly? Talk about victimhood. The buck stops here. Nope, not with Brandon. He goes all the way back to 1960 whatever to blame a guy, a president who's now dead, everybody else almost from that administration dead, and because Lyndon Baines Johnson didn't get through certain legislation, that's why we have gangs running Chicago, the south side of it anyway. Pathetic. And again, I don't know how over and over again these cities just continue to vote in utterly incompetent people to make things only worse than the really, really bad spot they've been in before. In Los Angeles, you had a chance. Spencer Pratt would have cleaned up that city. And now instead it's Nithian Raman through the miracle of mail-in votes, which are still coming in today, by the way. Let's see. We are now 20 days since that election, and we still don't have a final tally. So it'll either be her, the socialist, Raman, or it'll be Karen Bass, who, again, is doing nothing to make Los Angeles better, only worse. We see Minneapolis. Jacob Fry runs that city. Katie Wilson, socialist in Seattle. Zohran Mamdani, socialist, New York. Washington, D.C., a socialist will be elected there as well. And like I've been talking about, like I've been writing about, we are now a country of two Americas, basically. The blue cities will be taken over by socialists. The deep blue ones, absolutely. Just go down the line. It does not matter. That's where all the money is, all the organization, all the energy in what has become an insane Democrat Party. They'll take the cities, they'll lose the rest of the country. That's the way that's going to go. I know it's depressing, but you tell me how that's going to reverse itself. I saw a poll today, really remarkable, NBC News poll. 78% of Americans believe that achieving the American dream is out of their reach. In 1986, that number was only 45%. So a majority in 1986 believed that, yeah, we can achieve the American dream as a family or just as an individual. And then that number is now dropped to 78% saying, no, we don't think so. So an increase of 33 points. Nearly 8 in 10 people believe that they cannot achieve the American dream. So what are they going to do? Especially young people. They will blame the system instead of themselves. That's it. Oh, I'm a victim of this horrible, corrupt country. The system is keeping me down. Oh, BS. You work for anything in this country, you put your mind to it, just like Marty McFly told George McFly and vice versa and Back to the Future. You put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. And I believe that is true. And you see the success stories. Look at Ben Carson, for example. This kid tried to knife somebody, right, when he was, or this guy, when he was 13 years old. And at that point, somehow figured it out, despite having a mother who was illiterate. You know, didn't come from a great family, certainly not a well-educated family. And then the guy becomes one of the greatest doctors of all time. Could literally separate conjoining twins. I mean, no one had ever done that before. So, yeah, you work hard. You could pull yourself out of wherever you need to. Look at J.D. Vance, which is a great example, growing up in the home that he did. And then saying, you know what? Instead of feeling sorry for himself, I'm going to go join the Marines now, find some discipline. And then I'm going to go to Ohio State, graduate in a little over 2 years, half the time it takes everybody else. And then I'm going to go to Yale, get my law degree. Then I'm going to write a book. Oh, then I'm going to, be a part of a movie, not in it, but obviously had advised on it. Hillbilly Elegy that Ron Howard's going to direct. And then I'm going to run for Senate, and now I'm the vice president. I'll probably be the next president if I decide to run. Yeah. So I don't want to hear about this whole stuff about, we can't achieve the American dream, or I can't achieve the American dream because the system is broken. And that's why so many people are turning to socialism and all the free stuff that they promise. And I think they're going to realize with like Mamdani, for example, 3 years from now, that nothing has changed in their lives. And all the promises that he made, let's say 90% he won't be able to deliver on, and everything else that he does deliver on will be on borrowed money. Anyway, Joy Reid, speaking of insane, all the black people she knows, because she sees everything through a racial prism. If Sonny Hostin had a long-lost twin sister, it would be Joy Reid. Here she is saying, well, you know what? Most blacks I know, I contend the fact that she even has friends, but nevertheless, most blacks she knows, and they're just not going to celebrate July 4th because this is a country of slavery or something. Cut number 8, go.
Because in many ways, and with apologies to my dear spicy white friends, because I know that my white brothers and sisters do love a 4th of July. It is Independence Day. Everybody's barbecuing. It's a thing. I can promise you, black folks, we will take that day off. We will barbecue because we off. But black people, that nobody black I know is really excited about the 4th of July, because it is what Frederick Douglass said it is. It is the celebration of slaveholders who freed themselves from having to pay taxes to the crown for their slave empire. And that is what it is. I mean,
yeah, I've heard this before. The Revolutionary War was fought over slavery. Nah. And by the way, she's like, we're going to barbecue because we have off. You have off? You have off from what? You're unemployed. You're fired by MSNBC. Next to impossible to do. You're off. From what? Doing a podcast from your kitchen? And I played her on my show. I fell for it. Did it again. Imagine being that miserable of a person. But here we are. I'm pretty sure that many, many blacks and whites and Indians and Asians and everybody's going to celebrate July 4th, especially this year. Be one of the best celebrations ever. Because everybody doesn't see the world through, again, race like Joy Reid does. Meanwhile, the reflecting pool, I swear to God, CNN, you turn it on at any given moment, they're covering the pool. Like they covered that Malaysian jet, which when it went down is a huge story. 3 months later, they're still going wall to wall with it because the plane couldn't be found because the Indian Ocean is very, very vast. And somehow they lost track of it. But they went non-stop with that. Now, the pool where nobody has died, a duck died apparently, because I guess it landed there, started to drink the water. Obviously, it has all these chemicals in it. So the duck died, and now the duck is a huge story on CNN. I guess the Cackling News Network. I mean, what a Quacking News Network? A QNN? Should we just change it to that? But all the time, they cannot stop talking about this thing because they think it is bad for Trump. Again, Barack Obama put 3 times as much money into fixing up that pool. Other presidents have in the past. Trump puts 1/3 that Obama did in it. And obviously, it takes time because this isn't, Hugh Hefner's pool with all these different filters and different chlorinators and all these other things that keeps the pool blue. This is obviously going to take a lot of work, a huge, huge undertaking, no shade whatsoever, no real system in terms of pumping things in. Everything basically has to be manual. So, yeah, there will be algae that will return from time to time. And now there's been vandals that have been literally arrested. There have been 5 arrests now at this point of vandals going into the reflecting pool so they could tear up the bottom, which was painted And obviously Trump now not happy about that. So these people, you vandalize federal property, you will get the maximum sentence, which right now is 10 years. So, okay. But this is what CNN wants to talk about. And now Whoopi Goldberg, because CNN and The View and ABC are literally no different, she is now saying that Trump vandalized, actually, the reflecting pool, and he deserves to go to jail for 10 years. I don't know where this stuff comes from, but they clap. They clap at that show. Cut number 24, go.
Now, 5 people are said to have been arrested. He says a 10-year prison sentence will be strictly enforced. Oh. Well, if he's saying he's going to jail for 10 years, I'm going to let him go.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's Trump's fault. Again, they talked about this for 14 minutes on The View today, the reflecting pool, and how it's really symbolic of the Trump presidency. If our stupid media would take even, half the time covering this, then they do all the fraud, all right? 14 million for the pool, all right, to fix that up, or billions of dollars just in Minnesota alone, more billions in California, more billions in Ohio. And we're not going to talk about that, but we're talking about a reflecting pool, an algae. So Democrats are now pro-algae. They've come to this point. And as I've said, Trump could come out for pineapple on pizza and they would say, actually, no, it's awesome. No, it's not. And now they're pro-algae and pro-destruction of federal property, because if it makes Trump look bad, then that makes everybody else feel good, I suppose. All right, before we go to break, Jimmy Kimmel, I want his job, where I get paid $15 million a year, and he just announced he's taking 2 months off from his ABC show at 11:30 at night. And where do I get this job? I get 2 weeks, right? It's a grind. Totally. Am I taking 2 weeks from this show? Nope. Taking a week, I think. 5 days I'm taking. 5 days in August, okay? I have worked nonstop without a vacation for all these months because I'm trying to establish an audience. I want you guys to know that I'll be here almost every night, but once in a while the family and I do have to get away. But am I taking 2 months off? What is this, Europe? No. Here he is announcing who his prominent guest host will be on the show, and it's, well, exactly what you would expect. Cut number 10, go.
I hope you're paying attention this summer, because I will be taking the next 2 months off, this time voluntarily. Well, we have assembled a potent group of hosts to fill in for me, beginning with Tiffany Haddish, Coleman Domingo, Mike Barinholtz, Anthony Anderson, Billy Roll, and as a special treat for our commander-in-chief, I asked one of his all-time favorites, Rosie O'Donnell, to be here. All I ask in return, Mr. President, is that you don't do anything stupid while I'm gone.
Rosie O'Donnell, really. Has anybody been watching Rosie's podcasts or any interviews that she has done? Because this is what late night at 11:30. You thought Kimmel was insufferable and unfunny. Well, Rosie, oh boy, she's going to bring this down to a whole new level, proving once again that rock bottom has a basement. And cut number 17, go.
But I think he will have some sort of crisis, whether it's an assassination attempt or a terrorist bombing. There will be some catastrophic event, and he will say there will be no elections. That is what I think is going to happen, because if you read Project 2025, you would have not believed that they wrote down exactly what they've done to our country, and America didn't notice. If you don't think that they would take away our right to vote when they've already done
what?
The Voters' Rights Act, when they've already set up concentration camps, we are past the precipice, America. And everyone needs to believe still. Believe. You have hope is the last thing to die, people. We have to believe. I am very thrilled for how the Democrats now seem to be doing. But
Kevin,
if
I can't
read
take it
one
anymore.
more text from
Stop it! Oh man, what is Shawshank Redemption? What do we have? We have hope. It's the last thing to die. All right, when Tim Robinson says it, you're inspired. When Rosie O'Donnell, not so much. Oh, let's go through that because I guess Republicans and Trump want to pass the Save America Act, which requires people to prove they're U.S. citizens and the proof if they are. That seems reasonable. 80% of people support this, by the way, including a majority of Democrats. All right, so that is a sign of fascism, Save America Act. Then she says also that we have concentration camps here. Really? Where's that happening? And she will say this on Kimmel. And MSABC will do nothing to stop her from saying things like this because she is insane. And she's like, look, was that funny to you? And that's the monologue right there. And then she said that Trump is going to create assassination attempts against him or terror attacks so he could call off the election. Why would he call off the election? What you don't think J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio will be anybody the Democrats put up? AOC, Kamala, Newsom. Newsom's not even going to get there. I'm going to play that later. Mark Halpern doesn't believe that he will even make it to being announced or him announcing himself as a candidate. So why would he have to fix an election that probably will be an absolute blowout if that's who Democrats are going to put up? Anybody they put up, especially if the economy is going exceptionally well. We're at peace. We have peace, prosperity, and you have very, very capable, charming, smart candidates like J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or both. None of this makes sense, but that's who Kimmel picked because Kimmel's an idiot. And instead of saying, what's best for business? How do I keep my ratings from being any worse than they are? Oh, put on Rosie O'Donnell and see how that goes. First night, it'll be decent ratings out of curiosity. It'll be a train wreck for the next 4 nights. Save the tape, Kevin. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show. We're back with so much more in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, people, this is going to be a very quick block, so I'm just going to preview what we're going to talk about next, and that is you have Tucker Carlson actually defending the Nazi tattoo guy in Graham Plattner. Did not have that on my particular bingo card. And also, we have Bill Maher defending Israel against Democrats who believe they are occupiers, and he explains why that is just not the case and has never been. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show. A much longer block and many things to talk about when we come back in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Yeah, welcome back, everybody. So, James Carville. This guy loves to make predictions. He's like Jimmy the Greek of politics, except the Greek was right once in a while, not Carville. No, not even close. So, JC, oh God, he has the same initials as I do. That's not good. But the point is, here he is talking about how Donald Trump is going to resign by Easter of next year, April of 2027. He's going to say, I'm out. That's it. I quit. Which, again, I would ignore this, except for the fact that I have 10 different stories in front of me, printed out, from major publications, talking about how James Carville has bold prediction for Trump. We're going to play this, and then let me give you the receipts on the other side as far as like how accurate this person has been in his life, and it ain't good. Cut number 2, go.
Save yourself. Save yourself now. Leak, and more leaks. By the way, you just wait another 6 weeks. No one's going to doubt me when I tell you he's going to be gone by April of next year.
Uh-huh.
The fat bastard has just fallen all over himself. Don't know where he is. He can't get out of a chair.
Wait, what?
Go look at the approval ratings. Look at there's a new poll coming out in the Wall Street Journal.
We're good, Kev. President Trump's approval ratings are at 41% right now. Is that great? No, but when you look at that compared to Barack Obama at the same stage of his second term, he is even. When you compare it to George W. Bush and where he was in his second term, at this point, Trump is above Bush. So I'm not saying 41% is great, but at the same time, relatively, given the polarized state of this country, well, at this point, with gas prices where they are and where they're going, that approval rating is only going to go up. Peace, prosperity. We're going to have peace in the Middle East, prosperity. Look at the last 3 jobs reports. Look at the GDP. Look at everything in terms of our economy. Again, Dow Jones up today. We're nearly at 52,000. Your 401ks are doing really, really well. Your tax cuts and the tax returns you just got are quite good. So in terms of Trump, his ceiling is much higher than Obama or Bush in terms of their second terms were, no question. Meanwhile, Carville, let's see. Let's pay attention to him, shall we? In 2000, he said that Gore would beat Bush. Nope. In 2004, he said that Kerry would beat Bush in a landslide. Nope. He also said in 2008 that Hillary Clinton would be the nominee instead of Barack Obama. Oh no, that didn't happen again. In 2016, he said Hillary would beat Trump in a landslide and that the GOP would be fractured and broken for many, many years. Oops, Trump won, no fracture. 2020, he said that Nancy Pelosi, who was then Speaker of the House, should choose the nominee instead of going through this whole messy primary process, democracy. That didn't happen. 2024, the New York Times gives James Carville ample real estate for him to write that Kamala Harris absolutely positively will win. And that didn't happen either. So at this point, you would think this person would be ignored, would be shunned, would be laughed at. Oh no. So when he says that Trump is gone by April of next year, I can't tell you how many publications take that and say, wow, James Carville said it, because maybe he was part of a presidential campaign 34 years ago that Bill Clinton would have won anyway without James Carville, because Clinton was charismatic and George H.W. Bush was presiding over a recession. And quite frankly, after 12 years of Republican rule, eventually there was going to be a shift. James Carville is given all this credit for winning that election. He had nothing to do with anything. And since then has been riding on these coattails of being some sort of Nostradamus when it comes to politics. And it just is not the case. Anyway, let's move on here to Cory Booker, my wonderful senator from, look, it's a great state, New Jersey, but our leaders, not so much. Here he is saying that we absolutely, as Democrats, have to elect Graham Plattner. But Cory is so passionate about this that he won't do a certain thing to support Plattner. Let's play it. Cut number 3, go.
Leader is in Maine. We have a competitive contest. Democrats just nominated Graham Plattner, despite past offensive comments about a tattoo past offensive comments. He's got this tattoo that's associated with the Nazi symbol. He also said he didn't understand its meaning. He's covered it up. And he's also faced allegations from former girlfriends of abusive behavior, which he denies. Do you think Graham Plattner has the character to serve in the United States Senate?
Well, this is what campaigns are for. He certainly has a lot of issues and a lot of questions to answer and address. And I think the people of Maine are going to give a lot of examination to this going through in this election. For me, I certainly hope we pick up a seat here. We
want to pick up a seat here? Okay. That's very interesting. Because you just said a lot of questions. Watch Cory Booker in 2018 with Brett Kavanaugh, and we have to believe all women. And here's all I know, that if you believe all women, and 3, at least, of Plattner's ex-girlfriends said that he abused them, both physically, mentally, well, Cory, time to put your money where your mouth is. Oh, no. So then he eventually was asked in that clip, will you campaign with Graham Plattner in Maine? And he said, well, I don't have any plans to do that at this time. So Democrats want the seat, but they won't really go out there and put themselves out there to get that seat. And again, Plattner's not winning. No shot. No shot. And I'm not saying Susan Collins is a great candidate, but all I know is in her first campaign, re-election anyway, 23 points down in polls, she won. Second campaign, down 30 points in every poll, won. Down 9 points in the last election, on election day, mind you, and won by 8 points. So Susan Collins, for whatever reason, in Maine, not the best friend of President Trump, purple state, I get it, seems to win these things every time, despite what polls say. And now polls say that Plattner and Collins are even, which means Collins wins probably by 15 points. That's the way it's going to work. It's going to be great to see Democrats try to backtrack from that. Meanwhile, Gavin Newsom, I wrote about this recently. He will not be, I said he wouldn't be the nominee. Mark Halperin, who, again, he's like the Polymarket meets Kalshi of political reporters / analysts. He has inside information, unlike most other reporters out there. And from what he is hearing, Gavin Newsom may not even run for president. Again, his one purpose in life, in his own mind, is to be the president of the United States. That's it. That's all. Not for, I want to make the country better. I want to make the world better, which was the whole reason why Donald Trump ran in the first place, because he had a very good life. Gavin Newsom wants the celebrity part of it. The state dinners, State of the Union, the applause. He does not have any interest in making the country better. Look at California. I'll repeat the stats again. Highest poverty rate, unemployment rate, tax rate, gas prices, and can't build more than 2 homes in Malibu and the Palisades after 17,000 burned down or were damaged 18 months ago. Anyway, here's Halperin talking about why, you know what, Newsom, pack your bags because you ain't going to Washington. Actually, don't pack your bags. This is cut number 6. Go.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know I've said repeatedly I don't think Gavin Newsom in the end will be a presidential candidate. And that was before this investigation by federal officials into his family finances. I can tell you from Californians who are Democrats who do not want J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio to be president, this is a real investigation. There may be political elements to it, but there's a there in this investigation. And I think whether Mrs. Newsom is indicted or not, that this will be another caution to the family about what it would mean to their lives and their young kids if they get into this race. That is my prelude to telling you, you need to think seriously. If the people who doubt Kamala Harris is going to be the nominee, and if I'm right that Gavin Newsom ends up not running, you need to think about the vacuum. You need to think about where does that leave the Democratic Party? Because in the polls right now, those two take up a lot of space, and every one of these other candidates has serious question marks next to them. One person who might fill the vacuum, a favorite of Pelosi, a favorite of the Obamas, a favorite of the Clintons, is Governor Shapiro running for re-election this year. Here, for Larry and Kevin's review, is his newest ad.
All right, there we go. So let's keep it there, Kevin.
I knew.
Yeah, so the investigation, remember, Newsom saying that, well, Trump is coming after me. He's weaponizing the Justice Department against me. All right, fine. The problem is that this investigation against Gavin Newsom and his wife in California, Jennifer Newsom, began during the Biden-Harris administration. It then was carried on by the DA of California, that office. Trump had nothing to do with it. They're continuing the investigation now based on what they were handed, but Trump is not going after Newsom because he's some kind of threat. And that's what Newsom wants to portray, that I'm a threat, I'm going to win the presidency. They're investigating me for no reason. I'm sorry. I look at one stat in this whole investigation of Jennifer Newsom. Her nonprofit has awarded several contracts to the best friends of the Newsoms who own contracts for certain companies. All right. Quid pro quo, right? The problem is that $12 million was taken in by this nonprofit. Jennifer Newsom, Mrs. Gavin Newsom, has taken in $4 million of that 12 to pay herself to be the CEO of this nonprofit. Why do you have to pay yourself that much money? $4 million out of $12 million taken in, and then the other $8 million went to contracts of friends of yours. Oof, this does not look good. Give them their day in court, no problem, but oh boy. Real problems for the Newsoms. And I'm with Halpern. He doesn't run. Because once you run, then really the scrutiny comes in, and that could be ugly. So then Democrats are left with AOC, Kamala Harris, and Pete Buttigieg, who black voters hate. And if you don't have black voters, then therefore you are not winning. So I guess Josh Shapiro, who is Jewish, who also many more Democrat voters do not like, oh boy, they better find like Tom Hanks in a hurry. Jon Stewart, I don't know, somebody, not Jon Stewart. Actually, he cancels himself out too. I don't know. It's somebody we're not thinking of right now because the current crop probably can't win. All right, one more clip before we go to break. And I love this, by the way. Jasmine Crockett. Oh boy, she has provided so much content on this show. I mean, I pray, actually, I'm not going to pray, this is going to happen. She will be a co-host on The View. She is perfect for that show, right? Says nonsensical things, is completely a cartoon character, dishonest, hyperbolic, and completely anti and totally Trump and everything else. Great. Enjoy ABC, Jasmine. But in the meantime, she's still a congresswoman. She ran for the Senate. And now, the person that beat her, James Tallarico, the guy who bragged about having the first stationery that had him and her and pronouns in general, first time ever on the stationery. Then also bragged about we're the first non-meat campaign ever in Texas, which in Texas, state, wide kind of campaign, not going to work. Also said that God is non-binary and also said that there are not one, not two, but 6 genders. That guy, yeah, he's going to do great. But Jasmine Crockett will not campaign for Tallarico. Why is that? Well, because Jasmine, unless it's about Jasmine, well, she ain't gonna do it. Cut number 7, go.
For the record, I am not currently running for U.S. Senate, and therefore you will not see me on the trail as if I am running for U.S. Senate. I am not running for U.S. Senate. Instead, what I have always said that I would do, whether I was the Senate nominee or otherwise, is that I will be helping down ballot candidates. But y'all are still so focused on me.
Well, you're a Democrat, so maybe support your fellow Democrat to help take back the Senate. But nope, you're focused on me. I will not campaign with James Tallarico because, again, she will go to television. If not MSNBC and The View, if not CNN, if not MS Now, I don't see a path for Jasmine Crockett in politics going forward. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody. So, as we talked about before, Gavin Newsom may not run for president because of various investigations, because obviously his record is so horrible in California. So, who could backfill this? Maybe Kamala Harris, who currently in 4 polls is up by as many 20 points, even 22 points over Gavin Newsom. Now, I know it's early, but at the same time, here she is talking about, actually, I have no idea what she's talking about, but if she continues this as far as public statements or interviews where she goes off on these tangents, and again, if you could tell me what any of this means, you win a gold star. This is cut number 9. Go.
You've talked about that you're thinking about running for president, right? How is that thought process going? What's the process in that? And I know you're on a listening tour, and I'm curious what you're hearing from people as you've gone around the country, what people are telling you that maybe you've learned that you didn't know before the process of doing so.
Okay.
What people are telling me includes that they want to believe in systems, and they've lost trust in those systems. What I hear a lot is that people know that at the end of this administration, there will be a lot of debris. I tell them often, I can't guarantee that it won't get worse before it gets better. But the one thing I do know is at the end of it, there will be a lot of debris. And it would be irresponsible to then address that in a way that we only talk about what should we do, what do we need to do to rebuild, if we do that with any sense of nostalgia. That would be irresponsible.
Come again?
The status quo is not working for a lot of people. And what the people are telling us is that they want things to be better.
Right.
And in some places, what that sounds like is we want that to be broken. But they don't actually necessarily mean break it through destruction. But they do mean it has to be better.
Okay, so if you listen to that, what is your takeaway exactly? Because I don't have one. I've studied media and communications for years. I have no idea what her point was there. None. And I guess, if I were to guess, as far as status quo, and people are sick of the status quo, Kamala Harris literally was part of the status quo from 2021 to 2025. And all I know is that during that time, we had 9% inflation, an open border where 20 million people, unvetted, came into this country. And men were knocking out women in sports. There are other factors that I could go into here as far as why the status quo didn't work under Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. But, oh, man, if Newsom doesn't run and AOC is not an option, and that is your only option because there's money behind her, oh, boy. Say hello to President Vance or President Rubio in a landslide. Like a landslide we haven't seen since Reagan over Mondale. That I do know. And that's all the time we have, unfortunately. I need like a 5-hour show because there was so much to talk about tonight. But anyway, we're back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on WABC here in New York and on stations around the country and around the world, the galaxy for that matter. Until then, 2 words for you. Bye-bye.